He's out there. He's out there canvassing. Cutie pie. Beautiful, beautiful dog.
Yes, bye bye. Have a good one.
You too.
Bye bye. All right, so we got our other candidate coming up.
Yeah, Rudy Theophin is coming. How are you?
Oh,
it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood.
How you doing?
I'm doing excited, man.
You doing the thing? You doing it?
I'm excited, man. I'm excited.
Awesome.
You're
all right,
excited.
so go ahead and do the introduction, Sandra, because this is your city, boo.
Well, yeah. So I saw you yesterday talking to the chamber people. You know what I mean? I actually am a resident of Miramar. I got my ballot, saw your name on there. But I have to say that I did meet you when you were working with Dr. Stephanie Thomas's campaign. So he's not new to me. I just know he was doing some other work, and so I was like, I think I know that name. He's running in the Miramar. I know this is the best city, so I can see why you want to be a part of it and run it and everything like that. It's absolutely the best city in Broward County. I mean, hands down. Like, I don't know what you mean.
Okay.
But it is though.
Right? All right.
So, yeah, that is it's not for debate. You know what I'm saying? There's it's not up for debate. All right. So I was excited to hear that you wanted to come, that that you're running. I was like, well, let's see why you gonna do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, the city is great. So I'm telling you, I don't have no complaints, but I suspect you saw a reason or a need in order for you to decide to run against the former presidential candidate, Mayor Wayne Messam. So tell me why you made them kind of choices.
So I made the choices because I'm an individual who's I'm a grassroots individual. I'll meet you anywhere. Sometimes people say they see me in my suit, so they think, oh, well, he's a suit and tie guy. But where I met you was in Overtown.
Yes,
right?
we met in Overtown.
Like, I'll go to Overtown. I'll go to Liberty City. I'm part of this circle of brotherhood. So, like, we work with people directly, right? And I'm one of those individuals. Don't let the suit and tie fool you. I will be outside.
So Overtown's a little fancy these days. So we were not at Red Roosters in Overtown or anything like that. We were actually doing the distribution to the homeless, doing community service in Overtown on that day. So don't think, because you be like, so you could have been in Overtown, but you could have been doing something else. No, we were doing a community service event in Overtown when we met.
But still,
we ended up collaborating on another event afterwards. So
big up to Red Rooster nonetheless,
So before you go on, can you please tell us your name, what you're running for, and then we can get to the conversation because we just threw you up in there.
No, that's because
tell us who you are, tell us your name, what are you running for, and then
talking about Miramar.
my name is Rudy Shango Theophin, and I'm running for the seat of mayor of the city of Miramar, Beauty and Progress. Right? I'm 39 years old, about to turn 40 by December. I've been really invested in the community, and my biggest passion is how do we provide the resources and the help to families? Because at the end of the day, what's good for families is what's good for the community. And so when I deal with organizations, my biggest thing is how can I help these young brothers and sisters to get the skill set that they need to get into the workforce. Now, keeping in mind that some of them may not want to go to college, and that's the reason why I think it's imperative to really have conversation with parents to reiterate the point that some students may not be interested in college, but they may want to work in a blue collar field, or even if a student say, listen, Mom, I want to be social media marketing, right? There's opportunities that are available because of technology and AI. So we really want to make sure that we are able to help them identify their passion and not discourage them. Because someone told me the other day that the wisest is the man who plants the tree, who doesn't really gain the shade. And it's really to bring back the point that we must invest in our children. We cannot steer away from it. The biggest thing that I've dealt with when I deal with single mothers is they'll say things like, well, Rudy, people call me by my middle name, Shango. So they'll be like, Shango, I don't understand how you're able to have this bond with my son. Like, he doesn't listen to anybody, but he listens to you. I said, listen, I was once your son. So it's very important for us to understand that we cannot ignore issues. Going to Miramar, the interesting thing about Miramar, if you do a survey, depending on where you live, you're either here, oh, this is an amazing place, it's a paradise, especially people who live in Central and West Miramar. But if you live on the east side of Miramar, depending on where you live, you may not feel the same. I've met with residents who didn't feel safe. Like Lucy, she said, I lived in Miramar for 15 years. I never thought about selling my home, but I feel unsafe. I go at Woodscape around about, and I just don't feel safe. I feel scared. And that's something it's a reoccurring theme. You know, when I go to Publix and I'm canvassing, I hear the same thing. I don't feel safe. You know, we have groups of young adults just congregating, getting into trouble. You know, the police is trying their best. My barbershop is on Douglas and Miramar Parkway, not too far from Miramar Senior High. I saw a group of kids, a gang of them just going back and forth fighting. It was 15 police officers. And I'm just looking at it and I'm like, something has to be done. Right.
Okay, so let's talk about that for a minute. So Miramar is one of the cities in Broward County that doesn't contract with BSO. We have our own city. So what is it that you would want, or the folks from your canvassing wants to see happen? Because if you said there was police officers there, what is it that you can do as the mayor that can change the minds of people that live out east?
Correct. So I personally do not endorse the idea of bringing BSO. I don't think that's going to be the solution to it. There's some people that say, hey, look, Rudy, I support the idea for BSO. Me personally, I don't think it's going to be enough police officers. I think we have to take more preventive measures by going to the actual schools. If the police officers are able to apprehend, you know, a young brother or sister or whoever it may be, that we can be able to sit down, talk to that individual, but more importantly, talk to the parents. We really want to get the parents engaged to see what's going on. You know, a lot of the things that, in my viewpoint, when it comes to behavior, it has a lot to do with counseling. So I'm in partnership with a few organizations. And the biggest thing is most working class family, they can't afford a mental health therapist. They can't, right? So we have, in the past few years, focused on the importance of mental health, and it's for adults as well as teenagers as well. These young adults, they go through a lot. I mean, they have social media. You know, at my age, you know, we didn't have social media. We didn't have Instagram, but they're going through a lot of pressure, and they need help. They need counseling, right? So I'm really invested in ensuring that we can help change and shift their mindset from a place of getting caught up in trouble. Because 9 times out of 10, these young kids ain't bad. They're not bad.
All right, so we want to interrupt you right here, but I'm gonna let Narnique ask the question first, and then I'll ask mine.
Yeah, so Sandra, you asked the question about what can you do in terms of safety. So number one, first question, I want to know, how long have you been living in Miramar?
About 5 years.
About 5 years. Okay. The second question I have is what is the difference? What are you going to come to bring into Miramar? Because being around Sandra all the time, she tells me, oh, my city's doing this, my city's doing that, and my commissioner's doing this. And I believe all commissioners, right, are responsible, or they don't have quadrants.
Yeah, we have at large. I think they call it at large commissioners, meaning like so when you vote, they represent everybody.
All right, so you've been living there for 5 years. In the 5 years you've been living there, what have you seen that precipitated you to run for to be mayor, that you see that you can change, that hasn't changed, or that's apart from the things that you were talking about with the kids? But what did you see for the whole of Miramar that you think that you can come in and make some real changes?
Yes. So the biggest thing that I've observed is the inequality between the East, Central, and West Miramar. East Miramar, as we know, demographically, it's a higher concentration of Black people. Right, it's the highest concentration of Black people live on the eastern side of Miramar. And when you go, you know, we gain a police hub, right? So we have a police hub, and it makes sense. You know, we had issues as it pertains to crime, so it makes sense to have a police hub in East Miramar. However, we lost to Wells Fargo. So what are we doing where the bank says, I want to leave. I want to leave the city. You know, same thing.
Okay, so I'm gonna interrupt you. So one of the things the banks did was, so remember when they was bailing out the banks? Because I think the bank, if you're talking about East Miramar, I know one of the Wells Fargo was in a shopping plaza. I don't know if that's the one you're talking about. So one of the things the bank did was that they didn't want to be in shopping plazas no more when their leases were up. They went and built their own buildings with the money that they got from the bailout. So it could be a whole bunch of reasons why that Wells Fargo is gone, and not necessarily because there's some decline with the community. So because that's one of the things that I noticed that happened here. Because most of the banks, because I live in Miramar too, but I do live out west, most of the banks were in plazas, and when they got that money from the recession, they all built freestanding buildings and got out of the plaza. So unless there was a place for Wells to build a bank, they were not staying in the plaza because that was just not the business model that they were keeping anymore. And so that could be an alternative as to why Wells Fargo ain't there no more. Not because the people in the area got too bad and they were scared of getting robbed or something. Yeah, and I'm not saying that's what you said. I'm just saying.
Yeah. So it still boils down to the biggest issue. Like when you said you like Miramar, you love it. It's an amazing city. Mm-hmm. And I asked you, where do you live? You tell me the west side, right? So the biggest issue is that the individuals who's on the ground, because I'm coming from living to the east side. I just lived in Central for not even a year, right? Just made possibly a year. So I recently just moved out here. So the biggest issue is that when I hear perspective, no one is incorrect. No one's incorrect. When you go to the west, the complaints are unique. The complaints are the pipes, what's going on with the water in the pipes. Sometimes people talk about the lake. I'm hearing about the lake. So the blasting from the sound and the fracturing, and that's
we have that. I have that. So you mean out west? That's what we complain about, the fracking and the blasting.
It's a unique issue, right? So like you have someone complaining about the water in the pipes, and that's something that the city has certain things available for it. You have people talking about maybe the noise, sound control. When I go to west, it's a whole different complaint. Whereas in the east, you have complaints about feeling unsafe. Complaints about not having enough lighting. But the biggest thing is what I hear, particularly in the West and Central, is about the homeowners association. I had so many people yell and scream at me about the homeowners association, and I always tell them, "Look, I'm not the mayor yet, so like don't yell at me. Let me get in, then you can yell at me about the HR." So the most important thing, in my viewpoint, is communication, and I think because our city is 140,000 people and counting. We need community outreach coordinators. We need an ambassador. We need to break down the city into 13 different sections.
So depending on what you're gonna pay the ambassador, I'm gonna go ahead and apply.
Okay. So I think it's imperative for us to go. No. I'm not. Listen, the biggest thing that I hear other people say in the West Side is, "Don't raise my taxes." They said, "Hey, promise that you don't raise my taxes."
Oh, they don't raise the taxes. They just raise the property insurance.
or the property insurance.
And that becomes the problem.
Listen, the biggest thing in my viewpoint is looking at it from a perspective of, we have a population of 141,000 people, and you would be surprised how many people that I knocked on the door, and I was like, "Oh, I'm running for for officer mayor," and they'll tell me, "Oh, I love Mayor Chamber, Maxwell Chamber. I went to this new restaurant across the street, CJ Caribbean restaurant, a Haitian cuisine spot. And they're like, Maxwell Chamber, I'll fight you." Maxwell Chamber is not the mayor. Uh-huh. And I get it a lot. But it goes to the misconception and the gap in terms of communication. We need to be able to be accountable for every single individual because there's a dollar amount associated with every single individual. From a census perspective, we need to be able to say, "Hey, listen, this is the city. I know you may not make it to city hall meetings all the time, but we can have community outreach coordinators to work as your ambassador to be able to bring this before us so we can put these items on the agenda." I hear people say that we have advisory boards. We do have an advisory board. Heck, I was a former chair of the Miramar Historical Advisory Board. I was the chair. And when I was a chair, I never missed a meeting. When I was in Miami in City Hall, I literally used to leave City Hall in Miami to make sure we conduct meeting and address the issues. And I'll tell you one thing about our advisory board, there's little to no one that's attending. Apart from enough members for the quorum, people were not attending. So
that's in Miramar, you mean? In Miramar, they weren't attending?
Historical Advisory Board, there's people that are not attending. So we want to be able to say, look, I get it. You won't make it to all city hall meetings. You may have a long day. Your family members. your mother, you're working long hours, you have issues, and you're not aware of the resources that are available. And I want you to be aware of that. I want you to be able to get in contact with someone who's going to relay the message to make sure that it comes to the city directly for us to provide you a pathway to a solution to your problem. Here's a quick example. You know, I was at CJ Caribbean Cuisine restaurant across the street. This restaurant been there for 12 months, over a year. So I told the owner, I said, the only reason why I'm walking in your restaurant right now is because my friend on Instagram, because they recently started doing the Instagram, say, hey, this place is in Miramar. I'm like, is it Miramar? I gotta show up. So he sends me the address. I go across the street and I see it's literally across the street. I see it's a beautiful restaurant. And I tell the sister, I said, well, how long you been in business? She says 12 months. I said, you didn't have a grand opening? You didn't have Chamber of Commerce? What do you have? She tells me, Rudy, no one came. We did pull the permits, we did that, but there was no commitment from the city. There was no city resources that was helping to promote our business. So for 12 months, this restaurant was practically empty. So have you noticed why I went to the Chamber of Miramar where we did the debate? You notice I was at that restaurant, at the location itself. And as a small business owner, going to small business, it's very important that we do everything possible to ensure and promote those small business, or they will not be able to sustain themselves. Even
especially restaurants.
You're telling me
that's a risky business right there.
It's definitely risky, right? So imagine 12 months without getting the proper promotion. She just got some recognition because of Instagram. You know, so it's a big issue. And while I'm in the restaurant, I met a brother who lived in West Miramar. You know, his pipes got damaged because of the water. I don't want to talk about the water again because it's a controversy, but his pipes got damaged because of the water. And he was not aware that within the city, you know, they allocated about $10,000, right? So he spent $25,000 out of pocket. Yes, he's like, yeah, we could have really used the $10,000 because the water pipes, it really destroyed every aspect of the house, right? So it's something that you have to repipe, you know, so we have resources available. We want people to engage. Voter turnout has to deal with the confidence. When people are not confident, they don't vote. When I talk to young people who say they don't vote, I say, I don't blame you. I don't. Because when I was your age, I saw an older dude give me a spiel, and I asked him, well, why should I vote for you? And they come up with all these agenda that does not relate to me. And that to me is very important. At the end of the day, my biggest concern is to make sure that every voice is heard. If someone's saying, hey,
I don't want you to tell young people you don't blame them. You gotta vote anyway. I don't want you to be telling them that no more.
When I talk to my young folks, I don't lie to them, right? I tell them.
It's not about lying. You just got to explain to them the importance of voting. Now, whether or not they should vote for everyone who asks them for their vote, that's a different story. But they need to vote.
To them the importance, right? But I literally be honest, and I said I understand. I don't blame you. I understand. However, I explained to them, listen, first I asked them, what is it you looking for? Right. And 9 times out of 10 don't have a sense of direction. I don't know. So what do you want to do? What's your passion? Okay. They'll tell me their passion and what they want to do. And I say, okay, look, we have some resources that are available for you, you know, whether it's you getting a particular a scholarship or a grant, we have things available for you. Because a lot of these young individuals that I interact with, most of their mindset is, I want to be an entrepreneur. And I tell them, like this a young brother I'm working with, Aaron, he's 21 years old. And I tell him, listen, you want to be an entrepreneur? Okay, cool. You want to make money? He's like, yeah. I'm like, so what do you want to do? He said, I don't know, but I want to make money. I said, great. Well, guess what? I own a business. I can teach you how to register your business just like mine, and you can have the model, right? You could either work for me and learn firsthand, or if you want to, you could step in the ring. You'll register. I'll guide you on registration. Make sure you get the point of contact. Make sure you get the partners. Show you how to get the business. Help you with the marketing. Literally. Now he's actually up and running. So that's the main objective is not to tell me, because this is not a tell me generation. This is the show me generation. You can't tell them that you care. You got to show them that you care, and that's what I believe in. I believe in showing that I care. I may not be the smartest person in the room, but I'm the most passionate person in the room. I've made commitments to individuals, and I said, listen, regardless of the outcome of the election, anything that Rudy Shango Theophin said, my word is my bond. I'm a follower.
So I got some questions, but I'll let Narnique go.
No, go ahead.
I just want to clarify to your response to me is that there's a lack of communication. There's some sort of gap that you think that you are witnessing since you've been living here for 5 years. And because if from what I'm understanding, what you're saying is that people are not being heard. The restaurant was there for 12 months. There was no kind of, opening, no involvement with the city. So it sounds to me that you believe that there is a gap in communication because you mentioned also Maxwell Chambers, who is like from what I understand, he's the party commissioner. He does more than have very great parties. He's popular. He's very popular with all the events that he puts on. Sure. It's really beautiful because I've been to a couple and it'd be lit. So it sounds like there is you saying that there's a communication barrier or a communication gap. Is that what I'm hearing you saying?
Yes, between the residents and the actual city itself, and it's just too many people per ratio per commissioner, and so it's just too many.
So since you said that, because I kind of like the flow, even though I'm gonna take you back a little bit. So when you say it's too many people per commissioner, what's your recommendation for that? What do you do? Should it be based on district now? Would you want to change the at large? So what should you do if it's too many people per commissioner? Make the commission larger?
No. I don't believe that I think we should leave it at large, and the reason being is if we broke it to different sections, then we're going to get into a position of more division. We already have divisions. Okay. So we have a division between the East.
So what do? Add more people to the commission? Because you said it's too many people per commissioner. So how you saw that problem?
That's why I recommend a community outreach coordinator and to break down the cities into 13 different sections, right? Because we're not going to add more commissioners. No, it's too costly, right? If we try the district route, we can try the district route, but I'll tell you right now, I know a lot of the ins and outs. There's certain things I will not speak on. That's the last thing I think would be good. I'm really pushing the idea of one Miramar. The fact that we say the word East Miramar is troubling, right, to me, because I believe in one Miramar. So, and I never would want someone to be in a position where they're able to get in contact with that commissioner, and that commissioner says, "Oh, well, you're not in my district. I got to refer you to that individual." No. So I would rather have it as it stands to have a commissioner at large. And then what we'll do is we'll have community outreach coordinator by having different maps, right? We can break it down to different sections, 13 different sections, and you have a point of contact, a community outreach coordinator. And this is not like something that I created myself. This is something I've seen implement. I mean, I don't just deal in government here. Sometimes people talk and I'm like, what I did in Chicago was bigger in Chicago. They have alderman system. We're not going to have an alderman system, but we can have a community outreach coordinator for different sections of the city. So that way they can go, their entire job is to interact with as much people as possible. And there's a system in place to record that they're knocking, they're getting imperative data, they're able to get the feedbacks. And what typically happens is it's just like canvassing. When I canvass,
they're supposed to bring the information back to the commission, to the commissioners, so they can 100%. See what it is, the issues they want to address. Okay.
100%. Because if we want to do an advisory board meeting, we can. But again, I attended the advisory board meeting. I've been a former chair. They're not showing up. Okay. But those community outreach coordinators can work in collaboration with existing advisory boards. And ideally, we would have a preference to hire within the city limit. So if an individual lives in Central Miramar, ideally, we would like that community outreach coordinator to be from Central Miramar, right? If their particular section is in that area. Same thing for West Miramar, same thing for East Miramar. But the point of the matter is that we need to be able to put a gap, because we literally have a gap. And
is the gap with the entire, no matter if you're like East, Central, West, or is the gap more that people out East don't have enough connection with folks in the commission, or with the mayor? Are the folks living out East in more need to communicate than the other part, or it's not? You don't see a difference.
It's actually both, right? And what you can look at to show you that there's a gap, right, or is the fact that there's an election going on and people were not aware. Kid me not. I knocked the people's door. I'm Rudy Shango Theophin. They said, who? I said, there's an election. They said, what? People are not aware.
But that was happening during in 2020 when there was a presidential election. People ain't know that there was an election. But there's so I'm like,
talking about the presidential election?
I'm the annoying one on the show, right?
No,
so because some of what was for real, because some of what's going on, and plus I teach college students, so I know they're in their bubble in terms of what they want to know is what's happening in this world, right? So they literally can exist in this space and not pay attention to like what's happening because all their information is coming from the TikTok video, the Instagram, to this. Yeah. So you really can close out your world from what's happening. Like I don't watch local news, so half the time I don't even know what's happening around. Like I read my news, so I'll get to know stuff. But some of those other stories that happen in local news, I don't know because I don't watch it because I think they focus too much on the crime factor, and it's just disturbing to my soul, so I don't watch it. So I'll read some stuff to kind of keep up on the major stuff, but I don't watch it. So I can see how someone doesn't know an election is happening because they can create their own world and consume the information that they want to consume without even having to deal with everything else.
How about this?
Okay.
Could you believe how many people, if we did a survey in regards to how many people who was not aware of the mayor, on top of that, there's some people who are not even aware of where City Hall was located. Mm-hmm. Like if I do a TikTok, and I think I'm gonna do a TikTok, it's gonna and it's not like a lack of intelligence or things of that nature. There's just a disconnect. And the reason is the city is too big. This city was just a bunch of.
I don't know if it's the city being too big. I think it's just that people know what they want to know. Like, and it's just some things that you can find like some of the most people that have access to all kind of information and be informed, and you call them, ask them who their commissioner. They don't know. They don't know what elections at. They don't know where city all that because they don't have to go there. So I own a place in Dania Beach, and I didn't find out about City Hall until when the place collapsed in Surfside, and they had to redo all those condo certification, and they sent me some letter talking about like, you better go show us that you did the upgrades to this unit or else. I didn't never go to no City Hall in Dania Beach because I never had to. I just bought the place from the realtor, and that was the end of it. So what I'm saying is that it's not necessarily like the commissioner's fault or the mayor's fault or whatever. People don't know, and I can probably tell you some of the elected officials in Dania Beach. I can't tell you all of them. I don't know them all.
You live in Miramar. You live in Miramar. You're politically in tune, so it'll be a unique situation. So, for example, that individual, what's his name is, I can't pronounce it. It's Guy. I'll just say G. So G goes by G as well. When the pipes happened, he called the city hall like most people do, and it was just like, oh yeah, you probably want to switch up your pipes, something of that nature. Paid $25,000 out of pocket. Was not aware that there was $10,000 available for him. Mm-hmm. Now, of course, they're not covering all the expense, but I think it's imperative for people to know.
Yeah,
I rest assured that most people that I interact with, they don't know. And once they know, because voting has a lot to do with a belief system. I really talk to youth, and the only way I can encourage them to vote is to make them believe. If they're not sold in the candidate, they're not going to vote. And then it's not just for them to vote one time, like what Obama was able to do effectively through marketing. It's about getting that young individual to go back to the ballot, knowing their precinct, and being somewhat aware. So I think that's the biggest thing. I've worked for a firm that was dumping money, right? And they had one mission. They said, look, we need Black people to register to vote. That's all they need. And they give you all that money. And you have to do research, some things to that effect. And I told the firm, I said, look, man, the youth don't vote for a particular reason. I said, if you look at your candidates, it explains why they don't vote. I said 9 times out of 10, I wouldn't vote for these guys. So you have to be an individual who is down to earth. You got to be real. You can play politics. You can tell stories. You can walk around with a suit and tie. You can act stuck up. You can think you're better than thou. It doesn't resonate with the working class family.
And they may not need to, because people win elections here with 5,000 votes. So you don't need to get a whole bunch.
So that goes back.
You don't need to get a whole bunch of people to vote for you in order for you to win. I've seen the results. I've seen the results. People win with 5,000 votes.
But think about it. Out of a population of 141,000 people, when 5,000 people are voting and there is about 80,000 people that's registered to vote, what does that say about that 75,000?
It says a lot, but the person only needs 5,000 people to vote for them so they can win.
And in my viewpoint, I believe that if you're that individual, if you're that guy, right? If you are able to measure success, to me, it's to increase the amount of people to vote. And why would they vote? They will vote if they said, yo, I believe in this individual. I like what's going on. So I'm gonna vote to maintain that individual. It's 100% true. The percentile, you can look at county from county and you see, I could predict some elections, I'll say 90% of them based on registration. I had a bet and I told somebody who was gonna be a governor. They said, how you know? I said, I looked at the registered votes. Oh yeah, but they're gonna register. I said, no. They didn't talk. They didn't make noise. They registered a vote, and they're gonna win. Oh, Rudy, and it happened. I have predicted virtually every race. I'm not the smartest guy on the face of the planet. I just looked at the data, and the data says everything. I'm very data oriented. The data speaks louder than words. If 5,000 people are voting out of 80,000 people or 85,000 people, what does it say about that 75,000 to 80,000 people that could vote? And what does it say about their belief in the political process, their belief in the city?
So the candidate don't want to know about what it say. They want to know how they can get some of them to vote so they could get 5,001 votes to win. So,
but then that's the problem, because if our mission is just to get in, just to vote, just to get that vote in, just to get in the office, that's the biggest thing with politics. When I go on the east side and I talk to some of the rosters, they hate politicians.
But they also vote. Okay, so listen. All right, so I'm not trying to have an elitist moment. I'm gonna preface my statement by trying to say that I'm not trying to have an elitist moment.
She doesn't have an elitist bone in her body.
But out east, I went to a bunch of elite schools, but college, not undergrad. I'm straight hood 305 Miami Edison. But what I'm saying, out east, they vote for a person who I don't see come to panels to talk about anything, but that person consistently wins and drags everybody. So what is that saying about the folks out east? They continue to elect an individual, and I don't want to call no names, and because I don't want to get none of that smoke. But what I'm saying is that they consistently vote for an individual who doesn't even come to panels to talk to the community. So
I know who you're referring to.
I know, and you know who I'm talking about, because everybody know who I'm talking about without me calling no names. Consistently wins, but don't see them hardly nowhere. Well, I don't know. Maybe they have to see them somewhere.
Believe it, that individual still interacts with that individual has their base, and they interact with their base. I promise you, go against that individual. The reason why you're going to lose is because
you're going to lose, and everybody lose. They don't lose bad.
Know more about that individual, but what I'll say is this. That individual does have their base. I'll say their base, right? And what you just said is you exactly made my point. That individual is just playing the number game to get in. They don't have to show up because it's a game. The person with the most points win the game. And that individual knows this, right? The person with the most points win the game. Mm-hmm. So when you have a mindset of, oh, I just need to get the most points and I win the game, I don't have to do nothing else, life is beautiful. And this is the reason why
but it's
important, because I believe it's important to interact with as much people as possible. Because if we did had enough people aware, trust me, I kid you not, I've seen people win against this individual and lost a few times.
The last time it was 5 people in the race, you could have calculated all of the votes of the other 4. They still wasn't going to win. You know what I mean? It was bad.
They lost combined.
All combined. They didn't even come close to how that person won.
Because that individual still has a base. I actually saw that individual.
I see him too. I do some work for him. Yeah. So I see him too, and I'm like, okay.
So, but that goes back to the point of the matter, right? So you're exactly making my point. So this individual knows the game. They got the points. They get in and they do what? Nothing.
I didn't say they don't do nothing.
No, I'm okay.
They don't campaign.
They don't need a campaign.
They
pretty much won before they won because they got their base, they got a solid base, and they do their thing, right? Whereas for me, I'm a people's person. I believe everyone matter, every voice should be heard. You know, like yesterday when I talked to the owner of SJ Caribbean Cuisine, I really felt bad, right? Because I felt bad because I was like, wow, like you need to at least join the Miramar Chamber of Commerce, right? Because you need to get the promotion. Like this is not, you know, we have another restaurant, same thing. You know, we had another restaurant, you know, I go Joe Pot and it's like, it's the same thing. And the reoccurring thing that I realized, because I'm pretty big on math and trends, was everyone who said the same thing were small. So the small business didn't get any love. They didn't get any love. And it's already rough. And we do anticipate the economy to head left. So it's going to be even more tougher. So they need to be able to scale and do what they can now because we don't know the direction of the economy.
Yeah.
The small business not getting love.
Okay.
When I go and I talk to families, there's certain people who just feel like they're being left behind.
Okay.
And I, for one, will talk to everyone. I'm the only person who will talk to the left, the right, the middle. I don't care. If you live in my city, talk to me. You don't have to love me. You can hate me. You can criticize me, but your voice should be heard. Okay. I want you to go to City Hall. I want you to say it publicly. You know,
so I hear you. I thank you. But I want to interrupt, but we make things go too long, and I kind of want to avoid that. I really should have sent you a separate link, and we should have done your interview separate from the last one. So I apologize for that. I should have just created a whole nother setup, and your interview would have been separate. But what I will do is we'll cut the tape, so we'll make it 2 tapes in editing afterwards. But the lighting thing that you talked about at East, the lighting is a thing. Like all over the place. I think that the government decided that they don't want to pay these electric bills no more, and lighting is an issue. I remember when I was a kid growing up, we used to make sure we got in the house when the street lights came on, right? And the street lights were bright enough that you could feel safe and still see. Nowadays, no matter where you go, it's like, is there a bulb in this thing? I think it's a thing that government just decided because it's too, like, to me, obvious that they're not. Either there aren't enough lampposts, the lights aren't bright enough to make a difference. So that's the thing. Even in the community that I live out west, when I turn in, my what they call it, the bright lights come on because the street is too dark. So the lighting issue out east is a lighting issue that we have too. Now I live close to the big park and the hospital, so they have lights there. But once I turn in to get near my street, my bright lights come on because the street in and of itself is just dark. So that lighting is a whole thing. I want to know, like, why is it that do we need to hire more police? Because I hate that solving problems by more police. Like, I don't like, conceptually, I don't like the idea. But what can you do to make the people on the east side of town feel safer? You know what I mean? Do they want more police, or what is it that they need in that community in order for them to feel safer? Yes. And then, so that's my one question. And the one thing that when you said about, you saw a group of children hanging out, that type of thing. I know, like, when I was growing up, the parks were places where you can go. My brother learned tennis in a park, went to college on a tennis scholarship, and my mother didn't have to pay for none of that, right? Because, she couldn't afford it. Like, my kid does activities here, but I have to pay for everything. I have to pay for the PAL, I have to pay for the after school, I have to pay for all of this stuff. So what is it that we can do to have a place for these young kids to go so they're not hanging out in a plaza or whatever, and particularly if parents can't afford to pay for everything, because you have to pay for everything now. Like the travel teams have literally taken over. Even if you're doing something at the park, it might be cheap, but you still got to pay for it. And some people can't afford it. And even if you pay for it, you got to be able to, because they ain't going to let the kid go themselves. The parent got to take them, drop it off, stay with them when they're there. What is it that, so there's a whole bunch of different social things that are going on that's causing these kids to be hanging outside, besides the fact that their parents, don't care about them and don't know. A lot of the stuff is just you can't afford it. So what can the city do to kind of help that and balance out that cost to give these young men and women something to do so they aren't hanging out at the plaza, in the afternoon
and that's a great
evening.
So first of all, I don't think that I never believe that the children are bad. I always believe that the children are a reflection of the community in the household. So I don't believe in bad behavior. I counsel young Black boys, and in my 39 years of living and in my 10 to 15 years of talking to these young boys, I never met someone between here, Memphis, Chicago, you name it, that was bad. I never met someone that's bad. You sit down with a police officer, I said, bring me the worst of your worst, and they're like, well, Shango, are you sure? I said, bring me. And I break them down, we have a conversation, and we build. And I'm always able to see that if you think that they're bad, what happened to them was bad. They are a reflection of what happened to them, So I know the trauma that these young Black boys go through. I've been through my share of hell myself, so I understand that. In terms of providing affordable resources, now I partner with a few organizations. I actually have an organization myself, and the objective of my organization is to ensure that we can have a strong and healthy family dynamic. So we have our resources available, and it won't be for everyone, right? So we're limited. So even if we raise a certain amount of money, we can't cover every single child, right? So every single student, we don't necessarily have the funds. Yes, we could try to coordinate with state and federal to get additional funding and private partners. So there's a possibility that we can gain more, but for the time being, we don't have all of the resources, but we do have some available. And I like to partner with other organizations. I still partner with the Circle of Brotherhood. I'm still a member of the Circle of Brotherhood. We got an amazing church, a cool church, which I definitely need to talk to that pastor. Like, what he is doing with the high school, it's amazing. This brother and his wife are emblematic of we need more churches and religious institutions operating like this. This is what we need. We need more faith-based organizations to operate like that, to operate as not just a place for spiritual nourishment, but also to operate as a community outreach outlet. And this is what I'm big on. I'm big on operating with that. When it comes to network, I always say, I talk to everybody. I'm not pro-Democrat, pro-Republican, I'm pro-Miramar. Why? Because when it's time for me to get the necessary funding, I will advocate. I will go to whomever. I will sit down with them and I'll say, what can you bring to Miramar? How can you put us in a position where we're better off today for tomorrow, right? So that's my biggest thing, to network with them. Now, the city budget has been adopted. In terms of getting additional funding, I don't want to make that decision prematurely. I would have to actually review everything. We have to see, because it'll be false pretense for me to say, yeah, we should just take an additional $3 million and invest in it. Whereas I could look for different ways of getting the funding, because I'm big on finding other places to get money. I'm big on that, and I'm big on doing more with less. My campaign, I said, listen, I plan to raise $7,000 and run for the city. What? Yes, I'm very fiscal. I know how to save money. That's one thing my fiance love about me. I will make more, I'll save more and have less. And that's the same mentality, to get as much money as possible without utilizing the city budget. I want to strive to the best of my ability to abstain from utilizing the city budget.
All right. So what about the policing issue for out east? How do we make them feel? How do we make that community feel safer?
So we got pretty much 178 police officers for a population of 141,000 people. Believe it or not, that's pretty good on a national average. So it's not bad. I know people hear the number, they're like, what? But in my viewpoint, the training with the police officers, because the interaction that I've witnessed thus far have been positive. I know there was one situation on the east side when I served as chair, when something happened to someone, and someone sent me a video. They said they're scared. They'll send me the video. I said, I'm not scared. Send me the video. I'll go to Internal Affairs and we'll resolve that. So the video clip came of, it looks like someone was pinned on the ground. And just based on the initial clip that I received, it looks like the police officer were overly aggressive. Then afterwards, there was some investigation, and I saw the clip in its entirety, and it changed because someone else recorded the entire clip in its entirety, and it changed the whole trajectory of what I was watching. Right. When it comes to police officers, I like to be cut and dry. I'm gonna be what we say the front street. I know that there's good cops, and I know that there's bad cops. When it comes to bad cops, I have zero tolerance. None. Now, I'm an individual who, in Pompano, I was in my office in Pompano where I had a police officer who thought I fit a subject because I had my sweatsuit on, and pull a gun at me, and to the point where I thought I was gonna die, right? And I put my hand up, and he's telling me to put my music down, but I teach my young brothers to leave your hand up. I instruct them. I said, whatever happens, leave your hand up. If that's a police officer, backup will follow. So I had my hand up, and he pointed the gun at me, and he told me to put the radio down. And I said, no, I'm not going to put my hand down. We're not going to show me putting my hand down, right? And so I'll wait for backup. Backup came. By the time backup came, he unlocked the door. He had me on the ground, laying on my stomach, right? This was a BSO officer. And I was just thinking when my hand was up, Rudy Shango Theophin, you have a vision for your life. You have a vision for your family. And you, like every other brother who had to go through this, you could have died at that point. Could have died. I had other people calling me. I remember that was election season for Sheriff Tony. So I let it go. I didn't want to make a fuss because I'm like, look, I don't want to intervene with an election. If it was not election season, it would be a whole different story. I have some friends. It would be a whole different story. We'll just put it like that. But essentially, when the other cops came, the other BSO officers came, there was other ones that came. They're like, you can't do that. You can't have him on his stomach. We don't even know if this is a suspect. The other one came, got me up. The other ones were extremely nice, right? And one of them saw my card. They said, who are you? I said, I'm Rudy Shango Theophin. Because I remember I told that officer, I said, I'm Rudy Shango Theophin. I can get in contact with your boss. And he was like, I don't care who you know. He was talking like Tupac. I was like, okay, cool, tough guy. But long story short, the other officer, he looks at my card. He's like, wow. I think he really this is Rudy Shango Theophin. End up taking my phone. It's like literally called my HR to come downstairs. The person came, identified me as not being their boyfriend who robbed them for their change or whatever the case may be. And it was just one of those incidents where I know what it means to go through that. Like when you're a black male, you get
it happens to black females too. I'm just letting you know.
Black females.
It happens to black women too.
No gender war, please.
Okay.
No gender war. But it's different when you're behind that wheel, because it's one thing seeing it, and especially when you're not accustomed to. I'm big on keeping my composure, but especially when you're not accustomed to it. You're not accustomed to it. So sometimes when you look at the way we behave, the way we act. It's not that we want to be abrasive. We're just not accustomed. We don't know. There's not a script to this. You got a gun pointed in your head. You can literally lose your life if you do the wrong thing. So there's an organization, which I don't want to say their name until after the election, that actually work with police officers. And I want them to be part of our city, one way or another. I want them to work in collaboration with Miramar Police Department in order to help facilitate a training to help them in regards to interacting with the community, right? Because like what I saw with the fight, it was amazing because they did a great job. That was an example of a great job. They literally diffused the situation. There's people fighting. There was even parents fighting. So I'm not necessarily at this moment advocating for more police officers. At this moment, I really want to make sure that we take care of the ones that we currently have. And if the budget does permit us to add more police officers, by all means, But again, I just want to reiterate the point. I have zero tolerance for bad cops. Not people getting into some type of situation, not, someone taking a cell phone and try to paint a narrative. I mean, where they have no way, it makes no sense what they're doing. I'm not a punk. I am not a punk.
Just to clarify, Shango, if you allow me to call you Shango, because I like that name. Just to clarify, so you want to put more training and into the police officers you currently have. You do not want to kind of exacerbate the police officers you do have. To add on, but if you can, you will, and that will help the people in Miramar East. Is that what you're trying? You want some sort of? Are you planning on trying to do a community thing where they get together and they collaborate and work with the community and be like visible and not only for problems but just to be in the community? Is that what you're? Is that your?
Listen, we have something that's similar to that, but I want to bring back B cops, man. Having the cops on their bikes. Having on the bike saying hi. You should know who your police officer is. I always say it's a beautiful day in the neighborhood because we want to make this a neighbor. So when that cop see you more than once and you get into trouble, they're more lenient. They're like, okay, listen, we know you by name. That's something that's very important, having face recognition and bringing back the neighborhood. We just have hoods, but we lost the neighbors. I want to bring the neighbors back in the hood. So wherever you live in the city, there's no hoods. It's just neighborhood. Let's bring the neighbors back in the hood. That's all I'm asking for.
All right, thank you. So it sounds, I suspect you got the $7,000 you was going to use for your campaign. So I need to know, what do you need from the people? How is it they can help you if you need their help in order for you to make this dream of yours a reality?
Man, money is, let me tell you something, man. The money situation is so rough. I'm not going to say the name of the bank that we have for the campaign because they may be a partner in the future, but I'll tell you one thing. When I've been getting these checks, it's been taking forever for it to clear. So I'm just like, what's going on? Because I was just like, let me just get these checks.
They making sure that money ain't come from no foreigner. You know what I'm saying? They gotta go through and make sure
it's that particular
these checks
bank.
Not from China.
No. It's that particular bank. Because I didn't even know until I did a commercial earlier today, and my friend who was doing the commercial, he said, "Yo, Shango, man, that bank, they like hold." I was like, "They like the what? Hold?" I was like, "Why didn't you tell me this before I opened it for the campaign? Like, I'm going through pain. I literally, because I bank with Wells Fargo. I'm saying that loud and proud. That's one of my main banks. One of my banks, Wells Fargo. And I tell you, when I put the check, I scan the check, the money's available. If they hold.
And they also tell you if somebody gives you a bad check too, because somebody gave me a check that had no money on it, and I tried to deposit that mug, and Wells Fargo spit that mug back out like, yo, they got no money.
I'll take that L. But the people that that been giving me money.
So Wells Fargo is good. In that sense, but people got other criticism, but that part of it, they're okay.
Wells Fargo is solid. Whenever I take my checks from my tenants and I put it in Wells Fargo. I had a situation too when the check was bad. They're like, "Oh, the money's not there yet." Then don't get the check. By the time you give me the check, I'm scanning it. You think I'm going to the bank? I don't walk to the banks. I use technology. I scan it and I upload it. So unfortunately, because of that, it's been a delay. And then I had another nightmare because my assistant who actually had set up the PayPal, she set it up. I'm like, okay, we tested, it was good to go. But the only catch-22 is we have to set it up to actually capture people's information. So now we're getting donations, and I can't even put it in an account or utilize it because we have to identify who gave
sent the money.
Yeah, to report it. And so I may end up, if I can't identify this, be in a situation where I'm gonna have to cancel transactions.
You just reverse it back.
Hopefully, I'll be able to. But I never had any intentions of raising a lot of money for the campaign. I don't know. I hear people say, "You must be crazy." There's someone who's yelling at me, "You must be crazy. You don't want to raise money for a campaign." I do want to raise money for my campaign, but in my viewpoint, I'm not trying to buy the election. Mm-hmm. If I wanted to buy an election, I belong to a fraternity, which is global fraternity. I would ask everyone in my fraternity for money if I wanted to, and put it in an account, right? And it would have been simple to do.
Go ahead and shout out your frat, brother.
It's not a college frat, so I'm gonna shout it out.
Okay,
but,
all right.
About Village Laws 315.
Okay.
But my viewpoint was to make sure that I'm able to talk to as much people as possible. I want to canvas. I want to know your issue. I want you to get mad and take my flyers and throw it because you're frustrated because because come on election day. I love when I get the raw uncut, because I walk by myself. I'm from the hood, so like it's nothing you're gonna do to me. I'm not scared of people. When I shouldn't be running for office, I am. So it's really interesting when I knock on people's doors and I get the funniest questions. I try not to laugh, and sometimes people, they have like a mindset of, they're like, because I'm Haitian American background, so they're like, you're trying to take a Jamaican seat. I said, listen, man, my woman's Jamaican. I got a house in Jamaica. Like, my in-laws, I have the best mother-in-law on the face of the planet. She's Jamaican. I love her so much, and my father-in-law. I mean, I'm really blessed to be in the family that I'm in. So like, I don't see race and creed and whatnot. I have a very diverse friendships, and that to me is very important. It goes a long way. I believe in the Jamaican motto, out of many, one people. And that's how I view Miramar. And I know sometimes we have some issues on the West Side pertaining to, our racial issues. And I know, and I hear it, and I know, and I hear it. And trust me, people talk to me and they'll say things. And there's stereotypes that people, have, and I try to reiterate, listen, I'm not running as the Haitian candidate. I'm just running as a candidate, right? And I'm here to serve everyone. So someone said, don't make this a little Haiti Junior. That's all we're asking. And I'm like, I'm not gonna make it a little Haiti Junior.
Little Haiti.
It's already a Kingston area, child. And the Haitian Jamaican mix is a good mix.
Listen,
Jamaican, so it's already little Kingston over there.
I mean, the Tarrant County Commission is not Jamaican. There's a Panamanian on there that most people don't know, but yeah, so it's not.
Well, be Jamaican the way she moved. She moved like she just part
Jamaican. My understanding is, so she's still got a little Jamaican in it.
You got a little Jamaican in a child.
So it's just, to me, like I don't govern that way, and I think we're diverse, and I celebrate our diversity, and I think there's a beauty in that, and that's something that is key. My biggest thing is that every voice should be heard. Like when I bring up the East Indian community, I didn't know we had East Indians in our city. Like
I didn't know that either. Did you know that, Sandra?
Yes, I do. Yes, I do.
Because your city's thebomb.com.
Yeah, so
it is all day.
We had a pocket of East Indians. I wouldn't know this unless I canvassed. Like I may see someone, one or two, but I didn't know that there was like a little pocket of community until I knocked on a door. There's still like the level of diversity is just, and they'll say things to me like, listen, we want, I wish you celebrate this holiday more and this and that. We have groups of Muslims as well as Jewish. So it's just like, I want to make sure that we can celebrate everyone. So I want to work with diversity committees to ensure everyone is heard, whether it's one of you or 10,000 of you. You should be heard. No one should be by themselves.
All right, thank you. Shout out that website. So you don't want them to send money to the bank that don't clear checks?
Yeah, I mean, I need your money. I do need your money. So I
what do you want us to do?
So the website is rudy4miramar.com. You can go to the PayPal to send your money. And again, the election is actually, I can tell you the election date is March 14. 2023 is around the corner. Okay, so definitely feel free to reach me. I said I am listening because I am listening, but more importantly, I have my phone. I'm willing to answer any questions or concern. I know sometimes people don't like the answer that I give them, but I'm gonna give you my truth, right? And
so is it Rudy 4 FOR or the number 4?
Oh, the number 4. I'm sorry. So it's Rudy, the number 4 Miramar.com, right? And and please feel free to reach out to me. Call me. I have a rule between the hours of 8 a.m. and 10 p.m. I will answer your phone call after 10 p.m. That's time for me and my fiance and my family. So I don't pick up. You can send a text message, or you can send me an email at vote4RudyTheophin. Number 4, vote4RudyTheophin at gmail.com. All right. But more importantly, as I always say, don't hope. Get out and vote, baby.
And vote.
And vote, yes.
Right down.
I like that.
Baby. Mr. 2 watts, and time is of the essence, baby.
Yeah, I like that.
Thank you so much. And like I said, we're gonna split the video, and then we'll upload your part of the interview separate from the one so it won't be the whole thing. The whole thing will be up now, but then we're gonna break it up and have 2 separate videos and post it, and then we'll tag you in it, and then you can share it on your page too.
Did I spell Miramar correctly? Is it?
Yes.
Okay.
And then you got to put his email. Vote for
RudyShango@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Vote.
The number
4. Vote the number 4.
Rudy, REDY.
Mm-hmm.
Last name is T as in Tango, H Henry, E Edward, O Oscar, P Paul, H Henry, I Indigo, and Nancy.
And Nancy?
And as in
so Theophin. It ends with
Theophin.
At gmail.com.
I'm Haitian, man. The French.
At Gmail. It's like Acomercial. Gmail.com.
Theophile. This is
Theophine. Oh, okay.
It's Theophin.
Theophin or Theophine?
Theophin.
With the N.
Oh. How come they don't never pronounce the I-N?
Not me teaching Haitian Creole. Oh my goodness gracious. Too much today.
And you got all the skills.
Yep. All right.
You need to say 8 a.m. to, oh no, the email is after hours and the calls are like from 8 to
4. Yeah, you can email me whenever because I'm not going to answer after 10.
Right.
I mean, whatever,
yeah.
But
you got to put something for the family now.
Yeah, because I've been losing a lot of money campaigning. I tell you, it's very expensive. Like I haven't been managing my business. I have to pay someone to actually manage my business, so I'm not even getting a salary. I'm doing so.
Right.
Good thing I'm cheap.
You about the people. You about the people.
Man, it's work, man. It's for the love, man. It's for the love.
Yeah,
absolutely.
You can't buy that.
We appreciate you coming
out a lot. You hung out with us for real, for real. I thought it was gonna be 30 minutes. We spent the hour together. We truly
listen,
appreciate the passion and the vision that you have for the city.
Yep.
Yeah, we have faith and we got to put in work, man. Because
absolutely.
And there's things that broke my heart, man. When I see these young brothers, man, they're my sons.
And some of that is with the school thing. So one of the things I talk about before is like, especially for the folks that are running, that are trying to go to the House and in the Senate, Florida House, Florida Senate. I'm like, yo, get that a lot of money back into these schools. Because when I was in school, we had all kind of after school programs. They had like band, all kind of, like different clubs and stuff like that. They're not there. They don't have them.
They don't have band.
No, they've cut everything. Like my high school, so we used to have the band and then like they would go to the games. So now if the school wants to go to the game, they have to raise the money to get a bus to take the band to the football games to play for the school. That was not the case when I was in high school, but that's the case now. So the schools have lost a lot of funding.
You said you went to Edison too, right?
I went to Miami Edison, Red Raider all day.
Red Raider too, yeah.
Okay. I'm sure I graduated before you though.
You always gotta throw that in. You always gotta throw that in.
I don't look it, but I did.
You don't look it, and stop throwing it in there to make people question.
Yeah, no.
It's okay for them.
What year did you get out? You might know one of my younger brothers, but I think they're younger than.
39. So what was that? 2001.
No, you don't even know my youngest brother because he was class of 97.
Oh, not 97. No.
But you might know him though. He was probably there when you were there the last year.
Listen, man, I've Edison, we kind of know everybody. Like
so I'm getting inducted into the Hall of Fame on March 25th. You should buy a ticket and come.
March 25th?
Yeah, they're gonna put me in the Hall of Fame. Mm-hmm.
Of Edison? I mean,
yes,
my classmate John Perrette, he's the one who actually is the president of the
Alumni Association?
Yeah, Alumni Association for our class. Okay. So yeah. I mean, I'm down. I may be able to come.
Check it out. Or at least put an ad for your business in the program for the.
I actually want to do a little more for Edison. We've gone a long way.
All right, so I don't think Facebook want to hear what we talk about now. So thank you all for watching.
All right, guys, but thank you very much for your time.
No, we can talk after. We just go end the show. We can talk after. We just got to end the show.
Talk to you guys.
All right, play the commercial. Bye-bye.